So, continued fallout from Erika's latest bombshell and an unexpected turn of events in this Sutton versus Erika saga all played out in this last episode before the finale of this season. But before we jump in, my name is Nick Zangle. Thank you so much for being here. We have made it to episode 19 of season 11 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Recap and react on this Monday. This last episode before the finale is titled Overplayed and Overboard in reference to the last dinner of this trip on a boat. But let us start the day prior where the girls, sans Erika, head to Temecula, which is inland and north of San Diego for wine tasting. We get Kathy Hilton being Kathy Hilton and talking about the 5 S's of wine tasting with their wine tour guide. After a montage of them tasting at a few wineries, we have the final stop has them seated for a table chat where Dorit invites Kyle and Lisa to share how their visit with Erika went that morning after the sound bath. This is where Kyle shares about the news of Tom's brother being appointed his conservator as confirmed by Erika, and Kyle brings up her question on how that works because they thought the assets were frozen. And so Kyle also mentions Tom was still in his Pasadena home when he was burglarized, to the surprise of the girls, especially Garcelle, Crystal, and Sutton, who hadn't heard this part of the story yet. Now, in this particular scene, Garcelle is reacting as I would think any normal human would be reacting to not only the burglary part, but Erika's son rolling his vehicle multiple times in the snow, out of all things, after visiting his, stepfather. Crystal is now questioning the whole angle as well with this new snow thing added because she grew up in LA and she questioned, I've only remembered like 2 times in Los Angeles that, and I've grown up here my whole life, that it has ever even considered it snowing. Now Sutton in her confessional seems to support Tom going somewhere where he can receive help because it appears he doesn't have anyone by his side, especially not his wife because they're getting a divorce. And so at the table, Sutton is asking how Erika knows all of this, which is quickly shut down by Garcelle, who doesn't really want to go there again after the many dinners previously where this has come up and has caused lots of problems. Now, in this conversation about Tom needing help, Crystal is very touched by this because we have heard her open up about her father having had dementia, and Crystal shares she hopes that they can find private caregivers for Tom to avoid any of that care that both she and Erika know is not as helpful as it may seem. We heard Erika last episode share that with Lisa and Kyle as well. Now the Temecula trip ends with Kathy heading off early for a massage, and the girls imitating each other as the sun sets, and Crystal buying everyone a bottle of wine from their last stop in her father's memory. Now, my thoughts on this. Let me go to my face more. Okay. So the girls' reactions to Erika's updates were as I expected any normal person to react hearing this. And even Crystal is now clearly questioning more, even though she seemed to be on Erika's side at some point more recently. But this to me shows Mauricio and PK's reactions, and of course us, the viewers. We're not crazy for reacting how we did to Erika's latest developments in the Tom and everything going on story. Now, one thing I want to note is that Tom's brother being appointed his conservator contradicts what Erika's concerns were from last week, which she shared with Lisa and Kyle, that most people had abandoned him and no family is around to help him. But in this case, it is clear that his brother is at least by his side out of any of the people. Now, what motives the brother has, we don't know for sure why he's sticking around. But I mean, I don't think Erika's statement about his family are 100% accurate, knowing this piece of information that we know now. Now, as far as it snowing in Los Angeles, I can confirm, as someone who grew up in Southern California, only on a few occasions, like Crystal said, was there even a chance of snow, let alone enough snow to like really cause troubles, especially in the foothills in the basin. It would be just enough to be a dusting, and even that is a lot. And mostly the snow comes in higher elevations of the desert or in the mountains, and maybe the foothills of the mountain ranges. But most times it wasn't like blizzard conditions, and in the more populated areas, it'd be just a dusting that would melt quickly or would even melt upon hitting the ground. So I think Crystal is right on by saying that. But let me see who is here. just to check to make sure everyone's good. As you're coming in, like I say all the time, you can share your chats here. But let us keep going. So, back at the hotel, later in the evening, Dorit, Kyle, and Sutton are having pre-dinner drinks where Sutton is filled in on what happened at the beach picnic she wasn't at the day before, where Erika added the quote-unquote allegedly to the already questionable story, which Dorit thinks that picnic cleared things up, but Sutton appears to be even more skeptical, hearing what Dorit and Kyle are thinking was more clarity because the story keeps changing. And Sutton then accuses the others, I'm guessing she's saying Dorit and Kyle, of quote-unquote allegedly drinking the Kool-Aid. Now, in the lobby, Erika arrives in a latex pant outfit and appears to be in good spirits and is talking to Sutton on their walk over to the dinner. Now, after sitting down, Erika is sharing with the group how she's escaping from her personal situation through that day through watching some murder mystery. Erika then brings up Tom having done a lot of good things in his life, even though now all that is being swept aside or completely forgotten. Dorit then reminds us in her confessional, well, he also did a lot of bad things if what is alleged is true. Now, Sutton is then sitting there pondering why everyone is trying to prove how good of a friend they are to Erika, which then Erika brings up her interesting relationship with her son and how he's reacting to everything about rumors about who his mom is dating and some of the posts and whatnot. And they talk about that in the group and how Garcelle actually shares a sentiment I share, which is, I don't really want to know what my parents are doing in that way, even if they're married or not. But Garcelle then echoes what Sutton just said about the phoniness of everyone in this group to Erika's face. And of course, Sutton and Garcelle have been on the same page about this pretty much the entire time, which then Kyle notices Sutton's being a little standoffish and is sitting there quietly, and she calls her out, but Sutton doesn't appear to be entertaining any of this poking that Kyle is clearly trying to do with her. Maybe she just means it in good fun, but I think she was kind of poking the bear a little bit. But Erika then shares that she is laughing and joking now because if she doesn't, it will kill her. And she shares that she is actually a positive person on the inside. Dorit says, you know what? Yeah, actually, I agree with that. And Erika says she loves seeing people succeed, bringing up her comments last season towards Sutton regarding the big deal of her opening her own store and paying the bills. And Sutton, though, is rightfully questioning why Erika is being nice to her all of a sudden. We will table that in a few seconds. But Kyle then brings up Erika being on Broadway and how Sutton was actually the one who chartered the plane for all of them to go see her. And now Erika in her confessional is being clear that this is not her trying to smooth things over with Sutton, and she is just trying to not ruin the trip for everyone else. And basically Erika pats herself on the back for what she says is being such a great person. I mean, I think she was being a little facetious, but probably not really. But the night ends with them all agreeing that life has highs and lows, and the good thing about the lows is that good things are around the corner. Now, we get to my reactions here, and then I'll get to your chats on this because I'm sure we have a lot to say here. But I think in this scene, Erika clearly is not afraid to show that she has ulterior motives with Sutton at this point, and her confessional proves this. And also, while I agree we shouldn't dismiss any good someone has done in their life because of the bad things they've done, in this case, if that good being done is from stolen funds, then is it really good? And did Tom's good outweigh his bad? I think that's up for a debate. And I also feel bad for the recipients of Tom's gifts who are probably now wondering, well, was the money he gave me stolen? And to that I'd say, well, if Erika has to repay her part of what was lent to her by Tom for her business, should others who Tom paid for things out of his pocket for have to do the same, even if it was like tuition money to pay for college or helping, I don't know, single mom pay for diapers or food or whatever, or something for charity? Are they equivalent? I don't know. That's the question I have. But let me see what all of you are saying in the chat. I'm excited to see what we're saying. All right, let's see who's here. All right, Nastia says, I wasn't ready for Sutton's shady comments in this episode, but I'm here for it. She was on fire. Yeah, and are you talking about the shade in her confessional or to Erika's face? Because I think what you're saying is the confessional, because she was not having it. She was reading reading everything Erika was putting in front of her. Nastia says also, and Erika lying about wanting to patch things up with Sutton, but goes ballistic when Sutton calls her a liar. Confusing. Yeah, I don't like the bluntness of Erika being so two-faced in this situation. I mean, she clearly doesn't care. Like, she knows that this is all going to come out. At least Sutton is trying to be nice to her face and trying to be honest and behind her back and to her face, and just being cautious is not like being vindictive or mean, I don't think. But yeah. I think you're right, Nastia. Yeah, I think Erika has kind of proven Sutton right at this point. Or at least Erika's not helping her cause. Let's just say that. But anyways, if you don't have any more thoughts, I'll get to your chat anymore in a few seconds. But let's keep going. So it is now the next morning where Garcelle visits Sutton in her room, and they're sitting on the porch talking about last night's conversation with Erika being nice to Sutton and if they should trust it or not. Rinna calls to join the talk via FaceTime from her room about this new side of Erika. But Erika looks over the balcony after hearing some rumblings near her room as she's getting ready for the day, saying, you know what, I can hear you. You better not be talking about me, in kind of a joking way, but indicating she couldn't actually hear what they were saying, but just could hear people talking. She was wondering who it was. So this to me shows that they kind of played up this part to be more than what it actually was. And Erika didn't actually hear them talking about her, but even if she did, they weren't saying anything that horrible. I don't think it would be anything that Erika would be surprised about. But anyways, Lisa and Crystal are now doing paddleboard yoga in the pool and eventually joined by Garcelle and Sutton, looking and cheering them on. Crystal then shares that she thinks she was tricked into wearing her bathing suit by Lisa, and they both end up falling in the pool. After getting out of the pool, Sutton then shares her interaction with Erika the night before, gives her hope, but she's not sure what the angle of the cracked door is from Erika and what that looks like. They end their time at the pool with a confession by omission, which will come up again later, by Crystal of having been with another woman after being asked. Now, meanwhile, Kyle and Erika are playing pickleball on the tennis court, and after finishing their best rally, talks of Tom's house being taken away in bankruptcy happens, and Erika shares that she basically has $0 and will not get anything from the divorce, which is followed by Erika sharing that her lawyers actually called her brave for saying she doesn't expect a dime from the divorce. Now, let's get to my thoughts on that right now, which is, I thought the pool scene was fun with Lisa, Garcelle, Crystal, and Sutton. But on the Erika front, I don't know if I'd call Erika courageous for saying she doesn't expect anything from the divorce. I would say it is more realistic and a logical conclusion based in reality, given what she and all of us know what is going on at this point. Now, whether she went into the marriage thinking she wouldn't get anything is another question, but I would not call her courageous at this point. Maybe her lawyers are just trying to get her to be happy and at peace, and kind of that's what they want her to think. So that's easier for them because then she won't be asking for a lot of stuff. I don't know, but I thought that was an interesting comment. And if you have any thoughts on that, leave them in the chat. I'm going to keep going, but if you have anything that pops up in the next, while I'm talking about the next scene, and then we will get to that in a second. But let me just make sure I'm good on my end. All right. Now let's go to the last night where the girls are having dinner on a boat with a celebrity chef, and they are walking up to the boat where Erika and Sutton are actually again easing the tension via what Sutton is describing as a mild apology from Erika to her. Meanwhile, in her confessional, Erika continues to say she doesn't want to make amends with Sutton. And after turning the boat for good lighting for a pic and praising the all-female crew. Oh, here. Okay, I'll get to your chats in a second. Nastia. Dorit asks, what just happened between Erika and Sutton as they walked up? And Sutton allows Erika to share, saying she was angry and hurt with her life in shambles, and this was an opening for them as she was in a good mood, where Sutton was receptive. Erika then shares she feels she is damned if she doesn't, damned if she does. Following that, Crystal shares she has been enjoying her time with Sutton recently, followed by them hugging it out and Garcelle then offers to play a game of Never Have I Ever, prefaced by Kathy Hilton saying she's pulled background checks on everyone, so they better be truthful because she knows all. And Garcelle starts with the Never Have I Ever Stolen Anything, much to Erika's dismay, taking the hint from Garcelle it was directed towards her. But Erika says no admission is no admission, or no admission is no admission, in reference to Crystal's quietness in answering the question. But Sutton is questioning what Erika means by that. Now, another scenario about anal sex posed by Lisa comes up. Then Dorit poses an airplane sex bathroom scenario. And then Kathy poses a sex in a doctor's office scenario. And after fumbling her words on the phrase never, ever, ever. And then Garcelle goes again asking about a strap-on use with a partner, prompting Erika to open up about her problem with her partners in general, of speaking out on them actually having hooked up in a sort of confessional, underlying angry at someone from her past or present tone, which Sutton picked up on as she does. Earlier in the episode, we had flashbacks to rumors of her dating Armie Hammer, who was her neighbor. We've had rumors of her dating her former Dancing with the Stars partner and a lot of things. So I think she was kind of talking about that stuff, and maybe this is an indication that those stories were actually true. So the other girls besides Kathy and Sutton then head to the bow of the boat, and Sutton is emotionally talking about her situation with Erika and how it has been hard for her, knowing how their relationship started with a lot of things in common, even as recently as the beginning of this season before the Tom Bombshells dropped, where Erika and Sutton really bonded over divorce, and last season they bonded over being from the South, and a lot of other things that ended up being sources of problems this season. Now, in my opinion, Erika, I think, is right about her not being able to win no matter what she does. However, the Instagram captions are poking the bear that we've seen, and I think we can objectively say that is not a good look for her, and are too spot on for it to not be on purpose and not for the purpose of provoking her haters or whatever, her critics. But I am curious to see how the reunion is going to go once everyone has seen what each other is saying behind their backs. And I have a feeling it is going to be heated because, one, they added another episode to this season. It was only supposed to be 19 from what I saw, and then there was the 20s coming in a few days. And I also heard that, and they confirmed that there will be a fourth part of the reunion. So it was supposed to be 3 originally, and they added another part. So we are going to be covering this into November before all the reunion parts have aired. Now, back on this last scene, this Never Have I Ever reminded me of the Two Truths and a Lie from the beginning of the season at the Lake Tahoe trip, which is another full circle moment for the season, which I talked on last week, which was beginning of the season. They all wanted to be next to each other. Now they're kind of waiting for this to be over. And I will say Garcelle, I think, wins this episode for sure for that scenario. And I feel sorry for that captain because there's a lot of things said, but of course there's television audience on there too. But I think it was a very smart way of Garcelle, and Dorit might describe it as passive aggressive, to kind of test Erika a little bit to see if she would crack and kind of get at her a little bit in a way to kind of dig at her without being direct. I also think Sutton is smart to not buy into what Erika is doing / saying to her face. And this last scene showing her getting emotional once the other girls walked away shows she is putting on a brave face in front of Erika to kind of play the same game that Erika is trying to play with her. Because we both know behind their backs, they're both, if we were going to get the truth, they probably don't like each other, maybe never will. But anyways, I see your chats coming in. And I'm going to get to them right now. All right. So this was a pretty quick, not too much happened this episode. So they're kind of gearing us up for the finale, I think, with these last 2 episodes. So, and then of course the reunion is going to be pretty intense. But Nastia is saying, Erika talking about her being courageous, palm to the face emojis, and the victims are courageous. Yes, I completely agree. The people who spoke out about what Tom did to them and their law firm did to them, I think are the courageous ones, because they're already probably going through enough, and it already probably took them enough to even file a lawsuit against these people, and then they put their trust in this lawyer to help them win the case and give them justice, and then that person screws them over. I mean, it's never, and I guess at that point you've lost so much that you don't have anything left to lose, really, and those are the people you need to be most afraid of, because they will expose the truth. So I think I completely agree with you, Nastia, that the victims are courageous. All right, let's see. PK is right. She has no concept on how to handle herself through a crisis. She misses every opportunity to redeem herself. I completely agree. And PK knows that because he's been in management and whatnot. And I wonder if she's considering keeping her management or her publicist or whoever is advising her, or maybe she doesn't have anybody advising her. I don't know, but I agree with PK. It just looks horrible. And in a time where she should be quiet, or at least if she's going to talk, don't have any relation to what's going on. I don't know. But this also brings up the question, could these sponsors or whoever is funding her at this point, because she's in a pretty bad situation where she's probably taking any income that she can get. Maybe they want her to ramp up the eyeballs that are going to be on her, and she can monetize those eyeballs, even if they're coming for kind of an infamous, kind of nosy reason. I don't know. It could be a strategy, even though she's not making herself look very good. I don't know. And Nastia says, that poor captain having to endure that disturbing game/conversation. He looked uncomfortable even through the mask. Yeah. And they said sorry, but they just kept going, which I'm sure, I was thinking this reminded me kind of a below deck where things happen. But what I've heard is on like below deck type shows where there's a crew being followed, the crew's being followed, part of the show, that they say the worst stuff they've seen and heard is actually stuff that doesn't even get shown on the show and is on private charters that aren't filmed. So, I mean, maybe they've heard a lot worse. I don't know if that's this level of boat, but who knows. All right, let's see. Nastia says, also, Garcelle is so shady. Never have I ever stole something, and looks directly at Erika. I think she was tired of the girls sucking up to Erika the entire trip. I don't think she likes her. Yeah, I think... So this is the thing. So far this season, the big thing between Dorit and Garcelle has been Dorit thinks Garcelle has a problem with her being passive-aggressive and not being direct. And I think in this case, I think Garcelle was just, like you said, was just kind of over it and is, you know what? I'm just going to give them what they want. I'm not going to be direct. I'm going to be passive-aggressive. I'm going to go after the person I really want to go after and not try to ruin the day. Just kind of do it in a playful, subtle way. But yeah, I think Garcelle was smart for doing that. Give Erika one last test because you know the season's wrapping up. You know that filming's about to end and just go for it. And I think it was smart and it was entertaining. But I think it doesn't really help Garcelle in the argument with her and Dorit. So I'm sure Dorit will use that as a weapon against her at some point. But anyways, while you have any other last thoughts, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping things just to be aware of, which is that tomorrow, Tuesday night, I will be starting my new format of a live show outside of these recap and reacts. These ones are going to stay for this season, and then for the Real Housewives of Orange County, whenever that comes out, and maybe do a few updates in between. But the news live chat show basically will be kind of like a nightly news type show where I can cover multiple topics and segments and kind of get through a few quick subjects and a few longer ones and make it kind of a full show. And then you can go back and go through the timestamps and see which topics you actually want to watch. And that way I can cover things in more real time and not have to make a full video on them and a full thing that eats up a lot of time that by the time it gets out, it's kind of like irrelevant. So, and that's a way for me to still talk to you guys and address comments in the live chat without me spending too much time in the back and forth in the main comment section. So it's a nice balance for me to be able to, it's kind of culminating everything I've learned over the past 18 months on this journey on this channel to kind of put it all into one in a way that I want and make sense where I want to go in the future. So be on lookout for that. It's already scheduled on this channel. So if you want to pop in and just listen in tomorrow night, it's at the same time I normally do lives, and the topics I'm still coming up with, or I'm still confirming right now, and they'll be updated in the description there, and it'll be sent out via the email list. I did not send out this live to this live email because it was things were coming up last second, and I saw, I don't know what's going on outside. A few of you had already liked the video, and I knew some of you kind of regularly check on that, so I didn't do that. But another thing is I'm going to be catching up on the little short video clips from each of these recaps and reacts that I've been very behind on. So if you see in your subscription feed or in your home recommendations a whole bunch of shorts from me from the Real Housewives, the last I think the last one I've done is episode 8, so we're like 11 behind. That's why, and the reason I'm doing that is because in the playlist for this entire season, I want to have recap and react, one short, and then do it for each, and then it'll go back and forth. So that way, if you're watching the whole playlist, you get kind of a little bit of a mix. We'll see next season I do if I do that again, but that's what I'm going to catch up on for now. So that way, when we wrap up this season, it'll be all good, and you can come back and watch or whatever. If you're coming here years from now and you just watch the season, you can do that. So let me know if you have any other thoughts. Thank you so much for being here, Nastia. Thank you everyone who joined, and any of you who are in the main comment section or the live chat. I will be reading all your comments and getting back to the ones that I feel the need to get back to. And with that said, check the description for more, how to sign up for the email list in the about section as well. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.